Hello and welcome to computer class. My name is Dave and today we're talking about the Insert tab in Microsoft Excel. So open up a spreadsheet and we will get started. Now I've created this spreadsheet in the past couple lessons and I want to continue on the Insert tab explaining different things that are going on here. And the first of these is the pivot table. And what a pivot table does is basically summarize data very nicely and creates sort of a package that's easier to understand for people. Maybe this is hundreds of lines long and it's just a little bit difficult to understand. Quickly summarizing something and making it nicer for someone to view is pretty much the idea behind the pivot table. So I'm going to highlight all this and click on recommended pivot tables. It's going to give me a few options here. Let's just say if I wanted to summarize everything for what it says here, we could summarize an individual day of the week. How about Wednesday? Let's pick that one out and click OK. It's going to create a new sheet and summarize. So you can see summary of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. A lot easier to read this than maybe this, assuming this was hundreds of lines of data long. It creates this nice little summary table, if you will. And that's kind of the purpose behind a pivot table. Again, I could have clicked pivot table and put it in a new worksheet there. And then it pretty much would have created, I could have done a custom idea here, clicked on which ones I want. Oh, I just want, those days of the week. And then it summarizes those datas. Okay. Back to the insert tab, we've got the table feature here. And let's say I wanted to insert a table into this cell right here. I could do that. I could go back. If I wanted to highlight a group of cells, I could insert a table as well. And there we go. This creates a nice looking layout for this table. I could again highlight it and notice the table design comes up because of what I did. Can change everything about this. Maybe I could make some sort of a headline there. And again, it gives sort of a slicer or a sorting option at the top of this table that we just created. Cool feature. Next on the Insert tab, we have Picture. You can do from this device, which is pretty easy. You click and then find a picture on this device. Tried and true image there. Let me zoom out a little bit. All right, I could do that. Or insert a picture from the online pictures. You know what I'm going to search for probably, right? Batman. You got it. Click that one and insert. Pretty awesome. All right, so that's sort of some of the insert features there with the pictures. You can obviously do shapes. You can just click and draw any shape that you want. I'm not sure why you'd need a shape in Excel. Pictures I can see. Shapes is very interesting. I'm not sure why you'd need that, but there could be some instances. Icons could also be pretty effective, depending on what you're, in fact, doing here. I'll throw in, I'm not sure why I'd do a Band-Aid. Let's see if we have a computer here. Ah, there we go, computer. And they say, picture's worth 1,000 words. So if picture's worth 1,000 words, then an icon's got to be worth at least 500, right? Anyway, moving on, 3D models. Again, not sure why you'd need a 3D model of just about anything. Yeah, we'll throw in a puppy dog because everyone loves puppy dogs. And that might take a second to insert. Fun times. Hello, hello, hello. Inserting, inserting, inserting. Well, I guess we'll cancel that because that's just not going to work. But it'll insert these 3D graphics, assuming you have the speed to download them. Not sure why that got stuck. Next, we have Smartart. And basically, this can be used to create flowcharts for your spreadsheets. If I click on cycle here, I can put in a nice little cycle chart. And this could be used to summarize the data. Oops. You want to make sure you click on the entire thing to move it. Maybe I had a process that went on in my spreadsheet and this summarized the data. That could be a way to do it. Next, we have a screenshot. Basically, this is going to take a screen clipping here of anything that is below my Excel spreadsheet. So if you wanted something in there as a way to illustrate data, you should probably put it behind the PowerPoint before you do it. That's a screenshot. We've got some add-ons. If you hit Get Add-ons, you can see the Microsoft Office Store, some really helpful things that might work with your PowerPoints, work with your Excel spreadsheets there. You can see your add-ons and stuff. Some other random things that have to do with add-ons. Recommended charts. Charts are really helpful. There's many different types of charts inside of Excel here. Let me hit the recommended chart. Actually, before we do that, highlight over the data you have, then hit recommended chart. Here we see that they think that a line chart's probably the best. I'm going to pick that, press OK. And again, it's using that data to formulate the chart, as we will see there. Again, you could highlight this data and insert any type of chart. Here's a pie chart if you wanted to change that to a pie chart. See the information. Pretty helpful. All these are different types of charts. Which, by the way, presenting your data with a chart will make it easier to read if you're presenting this data to a CEO or someone in charge, a leader. Making those decisions would be more helpful. Maps, you can insert a map if you want to. This is basically just a different type of a chart, mapping something that could be creative. That looks pretty cool. So that shows how the data progressed. Pretty nifty. It's a different way of sewing things in. And then obviously we have the pivot chart, which has the option of a pivot chart and a pivot chart and a pivot table. If I click that, again, I've already kind of done this, but it will create the chart and also populate the table. So not only could we have a summary of the data, but also a summary chart right next to the summary of the data. Again, this works better if you have hundreds and hundreds of lines of data, or maybe trying to summarize something fairly large. So that should be noted. I'm going to go back. Then we've got a 3D map that could be kind of cool. Open 3D maps, enable, and it will basically create more 3D model looking ideas for different places in the world. If you wanted to grab something, you can create a chart with that. It's a little bit complicated and beyond the scope of this class, but you can do that as well. Assign them to locations. We've got lines, columns, wins and losses. Again, all different types of charts. The slicer. Basically, you could put in something that slices the data. If I hover over that, here's what it says that you can do. All connections and data in this workbook. Again, no connections found. You really have to have data that they want to slice and dice and present differently. Timeline, same thing. Uses timeline to filter dates interactively. Has to be tied to a little bit of time there. Inserting a link. If you want to link this to something so you can click it and opens it up. Making a comment. If you want someone to be able to comment or you want to make a comment on their worksheet or workbook, you can do those there. Text, we can insert word art, headers and footers, which can be really helpful to putting a header and footer above your data. So people will be into that. Okay, I'm going to click out of that. All right, back to text. You can do a text box, word art, which is really something I talked a lot about in PowerPoint. If you want something really bold, that has the ability to change the outlines. So here's the text fill. I can change that, but I can also change the outline. And I can change the effects. Here's a glow feature. So again, that's why you might use word art if you really want a functionality of your text. And then lastly is symbols. And I can see a lot of instances where you might use symbols for equations and things. Just because of the nature of Excel, how it's crunching data. Maybe you want to show an equation as is. Again, could be pretty helpful. All right, so that's kind of a brief overview of the Insert tab. Excel is a very powerful creative tool for those that are handling large quantities of data, and I think it could be utilized for so many different things. And this Insert tab just shows how many different ways there are to crunch data in Excel. Hopefully this information was helpful. Hopefully you learned something today. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.